Good morning. I'd like to call this special meeting to order. For the record, today's date is August 1st, 2024, and the time is 9:34. At this time, we will have a moment of silence, silent reflection, or silent prayer. Thank you. Supervisor Dean, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Clerk of the Board, do we have a roll call, please?
Supervisor Ding?
Yes. Thank you.
Supervisor Canepa? Here. Supervisor Patty?
Present.
Supervisor Rickman?
Here.
And Chairman Villapudua.
Present. At this time, now is time for public comment on the matters that are listed on the special meeting agenda. We request that you fill out a comment form and address the board in person. At this time, our first speaker is Mary Nicholson.
It's a pleasure to be here for this special meeting. I wanted to be here because in consideration of the additional funds to support town hall meetings, we did have a town hall meeting a few weeks ago in French Camp. But what's important is as you think about allocating funds, follow-up is really key and important. And so we are having a town hall meeting and progress meeting on the second Mondays of the upcoming months, August, September, and October. And so when you're considering funding, I hope you consider that there is also a need not only for one meeting, but the follow-up and progress meetings so that we can actually get something done and continue to build on progress within our communities. I'm wonderfully happy to have my two grandsons with me. And I guess you can imagine what's most important to me, or if there's anything more important to me. There is nothing more important to me than my grandchildren. And when I look at some of the things that I have to deal with them not being able to walk to a store, dealing with 50 miles an hour speeds going down my street, trucks knocking down my mailbox, children getting hit by a truck and flying in the air and bouncing on the rocks in the front of my house and having to be flown to UC Davis for care. These are the things that have hindered our community, and there's no place to go for fresh vegetables. There's no park for me to take them to. These are the things that we as a community need to talk about and show progress in correcting these things. I really appreciate Public Works for some progress that has been made. And so I just want you to know that even from our first town hall meeting, there has been some things that have been done, and it's noticed. And I appreciate it, Supervisor Tom Patty, and even having this meeting today to talk about allocating funds for not only my community, but other communities, so there can be conversation, a little walk and talk. So, thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is David Avila. Avila.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me this morning. First, let me say thank you for everything you're doing in the community, especially with the what you've done with helping the the new signs that we're putting out along the freeway. Tina will talk a little bit more about that. I just want to say also thank you for what you're doing with the VSO office and so on. However, there's some issues that we'd like to address, and hoping that you would give us the time in the future to sit down and address some of the issues that are affecting us with the housing and with the amount of staff that are being utilized for the new facility, only because it won't address all the necessary only because it won't address all the necessary problems. So if you can, again, Mr. Dami will address that a little further, but there's some issues that we'd like to address. So I appreciate that. Again, thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tino Adami.
Good morning, Chairman, board members. Thank you very much again for this opportunity. You all received a copy of the flyers with some of the problems that are seen on this construction. But today also, we thank the board members for the donation of the money for the Master Sergeant Richard Pittman Highway sign. We thank you very much. The family will be honored. It's a great tribute for Master Sergeant Richard Pittman, outstanding Medal of Honor recipient. And if you get a chance, read his story. Again, I thank you. Again, at times that we used to meet with Richard, he was always tell us, I'm no hero. The heroes are on the wall. Again, thank you very much, and God bless. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to address the board? I see none. I'll close public comment. And we'll follow up with consent calendar. We have 3 items. Supervisor Petty, would you like me to pull any of these?
Chairman, I'm going to pull item number 1, and I'll mention number 2 as well. So number
Okay.
1, start off with.
Item number 1, adopt a resolution in support of repealing Proposition 47, in support of Proposition 36, the Homelessness, Drug Addiction, and Theft Reduction Act. Supervisor Petty.
Thank you, Chairman, and this is one of the reasons why we're here. Got a couple of agenda items. First, I want to thank San Joaquin County County Council, our clerk. I want to thank CAO's office. I want to thank Mike Anderson, my staff, and all of the supervisors and your staff for not only being here for this special meeting, but as being as engaged as we are, that we know there's fluid things. We get things done in this county as they arise, and then we'll be talking about one of the discussion items to that point. But just from the onset, I also wanted to welcome Ms. Chelsea Breitenbooker, who's working over here as our new Chief Deputy Clerk. So welcome, and glad to have you on board. So this item on consent, we know that recently we've had our district attorney, we've got our chambers of commerce all engaging in what we can do to try to mitigate these losses from this open theft. My mother was just telling me this morning. She's at a grocery store, and a guy comes running down the aisle, almost knocks her down, as he ran out down the aisle and out the front door with a big package of food. So this is an ongoing issue, and we see local efforts to this effect to try to stymie it. I do have a letter I'm going to read on record from our DA, who was unavailable to attend today, but it says, I write today to voice my full support for the board's support for Prop 36. It's time we fix this broken record and fix Prop 47. For too long, the people of San Joaquin County, from homeowners to consumers to small business owners and store employees, have been suffering the effects of the well-intentioned but disastrous Prop 47. I'm proud to say we played a small role in qualifying this important fix, supporting the effort early on. That was a ballot initiative, hosting a signing and even a march to gather enough of these signatures from the 3-county region. And I, Ron Freitas, look forward to hosting another event in early September in support of Prop 36's passage. It's time for all of California to come together at the ballot box and make our county and California safer for everyone. So, Chairman, just for the record, I want to read, Prop 47 was passed by the voters in November 2014 and brought significant changes to California's criminal justice system. Achieving most notable success is making California's criminal system more equitable. This was the desired intent. But it's also led to unintended consequences over the past decades, including repeat and often organized retail theft, inner-city store closings, and difficulty convincing people to seek drug and mental health treatment. Rampant retail theft is harming businesses and residents. Prop 36 is homelessness. Drug Addiction and Theft Reduction Act is a bipartisan measure that provides common sense, targeted reforms to Prop 47 that legislative proposals alone are unable to deliver. It will hold repeat offenders accountable for the safety of our communities rather than putting them back on the streets. Prop 36 will define fentanyl as a hard drug, hold individuals convicted of trafficking fentanyl accountable, and grant judges greater discretion in sentencing drug traffickers. And as we all know, fentanyl is killing people, residents, and throughout the state. A lot of young people throughout our community have died from fentanyl. So Prop 36 will also provide critical mental health, drug treatment services, and job training within our justice system for people who are homeless and suffering from mental illness or struggling with substance abuse. So I felt as though we need to bring this forward to the board and include this in our meetings so that we have a public statement of support from this Board of Supervisors throughout this county. I wanted to have this discussion put it on consent and have this discussion with the board and see if we can get approval on this. So back to you, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Ding.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank Supervisor Patty for bringing this measure forward. I don't need to talk long about this. Prop 47 was stupid, and we all know it. You know, I mean, when this was passed, we were told we were going to do criminal justice reform because people were going to prison because they were smoking pot on the corner. We're all going, oh yeah, let's not fill the prisons with people that are smoking pot on the corner. We didn't know it was going to turn. In the restaurant industry, we have kind of a tongue-in-cheek joke is make sure they don't steal more than their fair share. Well, what we've done is legalized it. It's like, you know, you might as well put little, hallway monitors in the grocery store and say you can only steal, so much. This world has gone whacked, and this is one of the first steps to start reversing that, and thank you for bringing it forward.
Anyone else? I see none. Okay.
Any public comment?
Oh, public comment. Anybody like to public comment on this item? I see none. I'll close public comment. Yes, sir. Supervisor Rickman.
Thank you, Chairman. And just for info, I sit on the California State Association of Counties, and we just had our Administration of Justice Policy Committee meeting yesterday, and one on the item up for discussion was this Proposition 36, and whether we would support it, support Proposition 36, oppose it, or stay neutral. And, I made the motion to support it, so at the end, there was 11 for support, 3 in opposition, and 3 abstention. But now it will be referred to the executive committee to take action to hopefully support Proposition 36. And I agree, and I don't think anybody in this room disagrees. And as Supervisor Ding said it, Prop 47 was a disaster. And being in law enforcement, I've seen firsthand, the disastrous actions of this policy. We've all seen the news. We've seen what's going on in San Francisco. We've seen what's going on with our small businesses. And, you look, our small businesses, our mom and pop shop put their life savings into businesses to support themselves and their families. And you see what's going on. People just going in there stealing and leaving and taking their life savings with them. So something needs to, be done. And, one of the arguments against it was, hey, our state, our legislators working on bills right now that will fix the problem, right? And how long have we heard that? It's been over 10 years, and the state has done absolutely nothing to rectify this problem. And one of the reasons it's on the ballot, is Prop 36, is because the residents, the citizens of this state has had enough. So I'm 100% behind Proposition 36, and I think the residents of this state are also. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else? Supervisor Canepa.
For me, it's just been kind of a systematic breakdown with all the different rulings that we've had and the people, a friend just called me, and I mean, he was driving onto I-5 and off of March Lane, and they're shooting dope in public. And I worry that, you know what I mean, we're gonna mandate this. I mean, there's not enough jail rooms and housing, and I don't know how we get to a better place, but I think that we all need to be accountable, and I think this holds people accountable. And I think we for long enough, it just allow people to do whatever they want, and we just make excuses. And I think this is the first step in holding people accountable, and I think going back to it, I know we can't arrest our way out of it, but I think if we make people accountable for what they're doing and stop it, I think it'll make it a better place to live. The pendulum's swung way too far towards empowering the wrong people, and I think this is a step in the right direction, so I'm in support.
Great. Anyone else? I see none. We're all done with consent calendar. Have a motion to accept?
Well, with the rest of the consent,
You want to pull another item?
yeah, I'm going to go with number 2, just real quick, and just for the record, we've got consent item number 2. I would encourage and ask, as Mr. Adame had pointed out, we've got Master Sergeant Richard Pittman is being recognized on I-5. Caltrans has agreed to put up a sign. We're going to pay for it, so I know this was maybe pushed out to each of the offices from mine, but if either the supervisors, each supervisor would consider $2,000 and put it on the future agenda. But as far as Master Sergeant Richard Pittman, earlier this year, the State of California's Assembly resolution number 85 was approved for a portion of I-5 that runs through San Joaquin County to be named after Stockton's own Medal of Honor recipient, Master Sergeant Richard Pittman, United States Marine Corps. The resolution calls for the community to cover the costs for both the acquisition of the signs along with the installation of the signs by Caltrans on I-5. So I'm very proud of my office and being joined by Supervisor Ding. You guys were able to move forward on D4 and D3. So I'm glad to bring that forward today, and glad our veterans and families are here just to speak up on that behalf. That is all, Chairman, on that
Thank you.
item.
No problem. Supervisor Canepa.
Oh, I was just ready to say it. We have a check ready for you to be picked up, so I'm in full
Okay.
support.
Supervisor Rickman.
Thank you, Chairman. And, just to let you guys know, I have this on the agenda for my office on the 13th. Today was supposed to be for one item, but as you can see, there's multiple items on here. And so, which, apparently my office didn't get the memo on, go figure. And so mine will be on the 13th, our next regularly scheduled board meeting.
Might as well. 13th.
Chairman, I believe you might have been in Hawaii on vacation, so you might have missed the memo, but glad you're back with us now.
Okay, I believe that finishes the consent calendar. Can I get a motion to accept?
Second.
We have a first and a second. Vote, please. Okay, the consent calendar closes 5-0. Moving on to discussion, general government. Item number 1, District 3, board discussion on placing a measure, illegal substance dependence screening and treatment of recipients of county public assistance on the November 5th, 2024 ballot. Supervisor Patty.
Thank you, Chairman. I just happened to put this on because my office was in motion, but this is myself and Supervisor Ding had a discussion about this, so this is a mutually presented. But just give you a little background on this. This is something that Measure F in San Francisco had passed back in March of 2024, quite recently. But to give a little statement of what this is about and our levels of engagement, so everybody please bear with me, it is informative. State law requires that every county to provide public assistance programs for poor single adults age 65 and under. San Joaquin County does so through a program administered under the General Assistance Regulation Manual, last amended January 2005, through Board Order B05-124. Generally, general assistance serves only single adults age 65 and under with no dependent children. General assistance recipients collect benefits packages that pay for and provide needed services that are entitled to full benefit regardless of whether they are dependent on illegal drugs. This is consistent with other programs where cash benefits are provided, including supplemental security, Social Security, unemployment, veterans benefits, et cetera, all of which there is no sobriety required. On March 5th, San Francisco passed a measure requiring single adults age 65 and under with no dependent children who receive city public assistance benefits and whom the city reasonably suspects are dependent on illegal drugs to participate in screening, evaluation, and treatment for drug dependency for those adults eligible for most of those benefits. So what we're proposing is for San Joaquin County, the measure would require anyone who receives general assistance benefits to be screened for substance use disorder if the county reasonably suspects the person to be dependent on illegal drugs. When screening indicates a recipient may be dependent on illegal drugs, the county will provide a professional evaluation and may refer the recipient to an appropriate treatment program. If that program is available at no cost, the recipient will be required to participate to continue receiving general assistance benefits. The measure does not require recipients to maintain sobriety to be eligible for benefits. So the board should discuss this, whether to adopt resolution and place this measure on the November 5th, 2024 ballot in San Joaquin County. And the reason why I bring this up, and this is the reason why we're having this special meeting, is we're approaching the deadline to qualify for the ballot in November. So myself and again Supervisor Ding talked about this. We thought this was a measurable action that we could take forward. We know that, as we just talked about fentanyl, we know there are drugs out there with high potency. We talk to our first responders. They constantly get called out for people that have overdosed, people that have died, that are living in despair, let alone throughout our different parts of our county. So any measure, I believe, the reason why this is important is any measure that we can take that offers a level of engagement that can prompt a person to participate in drug treatment, not only screening, but if deemed necessary, some treatment services. If we can prompt that person and save lives here in San Joaquin County and use this as a tool to help us engage that person and get their support to participate, I believe this is worth supporting. Put it on the ballot. Let the voters decide in San Joaquin County. That's why it's here today, because we do have a timeline. And again, I appreciate everybody's willingness to change our off schedule to be here for today. Chairman, at this point, we can open up for public comment, and maybe another supervisor would like to say something.
Supervisor Ding.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this kind of goes hand in hand with the first item we heard about the repeal of Prop 47. I'd like to put new highway signs out around San Joaquin County that just says stupidity stops here. I mean, this is just getting absolutely ridiculous. And I'm looking forward to when the supervisors get together for the retreat and set policy for the next session. You know, what is our mission statement when it comes to homelessness and drug abuse and the, millions and millions of dollars we've wasted aiding and abetting people to sleep on the street and do drugs, and it needs to stop. This measure is but a small step for people to take accountability. Our number one priority is the safety of our community, and that includes the housed individuals who work for a living too, and those who are on the street. If the monies are being spent or not to help people if their addiction or for behavioral health measures, they shouldn't be spent. Not washing their clothes, feeding them, giving them every aid so they could sit down and kill themselves on fentanyl. That's hardly moral or ethical. So thank you, Supervisor Patty, for bringing this forward.
Supervisor Canepa.
I just had for County Council. So can you kind of give a little bit of background to why the difference between San Francisco and the charter part of it and what we have? So we have the ability to do this as a board. Can you kind of give a little bit of background, please?
Sure, and I included this in an email. The county has the ability to, under Welfare and Institution Code, to impose this requirement. It may do so through an ordinance or even a resolution. San Francisco took a different route. What they did is their mayor put this on the ballot for the voters to decide, which is what the proposal we're looking to do. The proposal here is to do something very similar, to have this board pass a resolution and put it on the ballot for approval by the voters. If the board wished to, it could simply take the action itself. That's an option it has. My understanding as to why San Francisco did it the way they did it was they have a charter which has certain, which gives, first of all, the mayor that ability. We obviously don't have a charter, and we don't have a mayor for that matter. And then I think there was also a political calculation that perhaps there wasn't support on their board to put this on the ballot. And so the mayor, as I understand it, I've not spoken with her directly, but my understanding is that she made the calculation, the way to get this approved in that municipality was for her, under the charter, to put it on the ballot. But I think getting to the point you were alluding to, we have the ability here in the county, that is the board, to do it directly if they wish to, or you also obviously have the ability to, through the elections code, put it before the voters and see what the voters think.
Okay, and then the second question would be, so the ability to unwind it, I mean, that was the concern of why you would go to the voters, because if another board comes on and wants to redo it, is there some language that you could put, like a 4/5 vote, that you would need a supermajority to unwind it? If, you know what I mean? Because I'm just trying to see if we could save the county the money of not having to go out for an election, if we could do this and put a parameter where you possibly would need 4/5 of the vote of the Board of Supervisors to change it.
Yeah, I looked into that. First of all, I think there was some thought, and that, so I looked into it as to whether or not, if it were going before the voters, whether that would make it more difficult to amend in the future. For instance, there was the thought that if the voters approved it, any change to it would have to be made by the voters. That's in fact not the case, at least there's not a case directly on point, but there's a number of cases which collectively have caused me to reach the conclusion that that requirement that something go back to the voters is when you have a voter initiative. So if there was a petition and to do this that was brought by the public, and then it was put on the ballot and the measure were approved, that could only be changed by the voters in the future. A board couldn't change that. Because that's not the process we're contemplating here. Instead, we're contemplating a process whereby the board puts it on the ballot. That restriction precluding a future board from changing it does not exist. At least that's my interpretation of the cases that I've looked at. As to the question of whether we can require a supermajority, which San Francisco did do, but of course they have a charter which seems to allow that. There's case law which suggests that this board is not able to tie the hands of a future board. So we cannot, I don't believe we can put in the proposed ordinance that it can only be amended by, say, a 4/5 vote. There's this case law which strongly suggests that. Again, there isn't a case directly on point, but there's enough cases which have language that's my conclusion. And if you were to put that in there, I think it would make the ordinance vulnerable to a legal challenge.
Okay, thank you. Next questions, I don't know, Genevieve, Director. Oh, okay, well, I lied. So I have two more. If we could have Chris Woods step up and Genevieve from Behavioral Health, I have some questions for. Please. The first question is for Dr. Woods. So as these people, how many of these people would be affected, and how many people currently have the problem that could be addressed that you would be able to see that you know they have a drug problem?
Good morning, members of the board. All right, there we go. Good morning, members of the board. Supervisor Canepa through the chair. So in surveying staff, so those that would fall under the reasonable suspicion criteria that is utilized or will be utilized in San Francisco, approximately 5 to 10 customers per month would fall under the that criteria right now. So, and currently, if I just could share that we have 35 customers who are participating in treatment that we currently pay general assistance benefits for. So they're in residential treatment now.
Okay, and then how do we go about that now? I mean, so there's tools in the shed that help us deal with this? I mean, or this would be a
So
A
they-
deal changer is what I'm asking.
So currently, there is no ability for us as a human services agency to deny someone benefits if they are addicted to drugs. We have the ability to pay drug treatment facilities the general assistance rate for them to participate in their program. It does not cover the full cost of the program, it just pays for essentially room and board. And we will continue to do that. What this proposal would do was, if there is reasonable suspicion and the participant chooses not to participate in treatment, then we would be able to cut their benefits off.
Okay. And then Director Valentine, to this extent, what avenues do we have for treatment? Because I know I'm a behavioral health, and I mean, there's a struggle for that. Not only for people to admit that they have a problem, but getting them the problem, the help that they need. So if you could address that.
Good morning. So through the chair over to Supervisor Canepa. So we have a twofold situation that behavioral health will have. We'll first have to establish an MOU with HSA to determine what participation looks like, and to make sure that there is a determination based off of CFR 42, which is the ROI required for substance abuse, which is at a higher level than HIPAA, where we would be able to actually release participation information to HSA that someone is actually even in our treatment. So they can screen over and say they can come over to us, but without the client's full agreement for BHS and consent, we would not be able to relay that information back for what participation looks like and what treatment looks like without an ROI. So we have to work out some details first. In terms of staffing levels and treatment, we will have to do a full assessment of what that looks like. I can tell you as of today, we do not have the staffing levels from a assessment and screening perspective. We would have to definitely do a much larger assessment on the substance abuse side of the house. We have a rather high, like over a 40% vacancy rate on my substance abuse side of the house. So we will have to have a different conversation.
Because that's part of the problem. You guys, the departments don't talk to one another now because of the HIPAA violation, right?
We communicate all the time, actually. Chris and I had a meeting yesterday afternoon of how to work a few things out, MOUs, agreements. It ends up being, it's all voluntary. So treatment is voluntary, substance abuse treatment is voluntary. Even with the upcoming SB 43, substance abuse, unless they are a threat to self or others, will still be voluntary treatment. So without an ROI, a release of information, and SB 40, CFR 42, which is the HIPAA of substance abuse, actually has higher standards than HIPAA. So if a client does not sign that information, I have no legal authority to say over to HSA if they are participating. So we have to work out a variety of details.
And then I'll stop with the last question. So will Care Court in any way address any of these? I mean, I know that that's coming down the pike, and
Yes.
and we're dealing with that. So would that help this? I'm just kind of worried that if San Francisco's doing this and they're kicking people off, you know what I mean? Are they going to migrate to the Valley?
Most likely they will. Yes, Care Court, because it is a civil situation and it is actually being done through a court proceeding, and there are requirements that behavioral health has to go through based off of county council, public defender, and court proceedings. There are a variety of different things that we are required to do and report.
Okay, perfect.
So, and if I could just give some context around the benefit structure. So the maximum general assistance benefit is $367 per month, of which $340 is paid directly to the landlord. So if someone is not housed, the maximum cash benefit someone would receive is $75 in cash.
Okay, because that's my concern. I'm thinking we're trying to get this on the ballot. If we could, mandate it and use that money towards obviously, providing more employees to provide help and services and get ready for Care Court when it comes out. So thank you, Chair.
Okay, Supervisor Ding.
Director Woods, how much drugs can I buy for $75? Do you think I can get loaded for one day?
Supervisor Ding, through the chair, I think you'd be pleased to know that I do not know the answer to that.
That's good. But I would think from our dialogue that a lot of people are using drugs right now, including people in public office. We spent between $130 million and $160 million for the purpose of getting people off the streets, dealing with mental health and drug addiction. And right now, we're having an argument on how many dead bodies are too many. I mean, $75 might not be a lot to you, but you know what? If we spend $130 million, our population is increased, but this is only going to help so many people. That's BS. We need, this is more than just about dollars. This is about making a statement. Stupidity stops here. We're going to stop it. We're going to stop aiding and abetting people of killing our grandparents, our kids, and themselves. We're going to get people mental health. We're going to actually do what the public believes that was intended to do. As far as county council is concerned, I actually disagree with part of what you said. The reason you put it before the voters, there's two reasons. One, we're making a statement. Yes, we could do this aboard and it'd be over, but we're making a statement. Stupidity stops here. You can't rob our stores. You can't take our money and go do drugs, and we're not going to aid and abet you in your death. That's what we're doing here. Also, by putting on the ballot, you're codifying it in the law, and it'd take a couple of brain surgeons, which don't exist within elected officials right now, to figure out how to unwind it. If we wind up with elected officials 10 years from now that decide stealing is okay again, as long as you steal under $1,000, and the price of fentanyl drops to under $75 a bag, you can go kill yourself in one shot, maybe we could do something about it. Once again, I'd like to thank Supervisor Patty for bringing this forward, because I know it might seem like a small step, but man, we got to do every possible thing. We need to save lives of not just those on the street, but our grandparents, our kids, and our community, and this is a great way to do it.
Supervisor Rickman.
Thank you, Chairman. Counselor, you mentioned tying the hands of future boards for, 4/5 majority. How is that tying the hand of a future board when we have policies in place right now with 4/5? Also, if you look at cities, for example, they have policies on, 4/5 vote for a variety of things, and also other counties. And so why would just this statute or ordinance or whatever it may be any different than what other cities and counties are doing, or even us?
I would have to take a look at the specific examples you're making reference to. Those may be policies, which are different than legislation. I mean, I'll read you an excerpt, for instance. This is from a case. The local electorate's right to initiative is generally coextensive with the legislative power of the local governing body. And then there's a case site. However, although the legislative body through its acts may not restrict the authority of future legislatures, a municipal corporation cannot abridge its own legislative powers by passage of irrevocable ordinances. And then again, there's another case site. Through an exercise of the initiative power, the people may bind future legislative bodies other than the people themselves. There's a number of other cases I've looked at, and they all stand for this proposition that when you have an initiative which passes an ordinance, that can only be amended by going back to the voters. That isn't the case with respect to when a board puts something on the ballot, and there's other. So you got two different concepts. I understand.
Right, I understand. I just want to know about the 4/5, and you mentioned that.
That appears, we looked into it, and that appears to be something which is allowed because of San Francisco's charter. Whereas it doesn't appear we would be able to do that because we don't have a charter which specifies that. And as far as other counties and cities doing it, I'd have to look at what the specifics. It's possible they may be doing it and saying, we'll take a chance if somebody challenges it, and maybe we win, maybe we don't.
Well, it even comes out of, if you look at some even grand jury reports and stuff, even they mentioned, 4/5. So I don't see how it's, what are you, irrevocable or whatever it may be.
It wouldn't be irrevocable, but.
Because we're not tying the hands. I mean, I guess it's a debate we can have on another time, but how are you tying the hand of a future council or future board when you can do it? You're not tying their hand, they just need to get a higher threshold. Instead of 3, you need to get 4.
Right, and all I'm doing is making.
No, I know,
Yeah.
I understand, I appreciate, you letting us know and, for caution purposes and, but,
Just to be clear, if you want to make a motion to require a supermajority, we can put it in there. There is a severability clause which indicates if anything is challenged and is found unconstitutional or is otherwise illegal, the rest of the ordinance stands. So we can put that in there, but it will create an opportunity, in my view, for a challenge.
But if we do that, say, if we go to the voters for the ordinance, do we have to outline it in the ordinance itself? That would be.
We would have to, yes, we would have to do it right now, here and now. I could probably put something together on the fly, because that's a relatively simple amendment. But the reason I didn't do it is because I wanted to try to make sure we make this as bulletproof as possible.
Yeah, you can. On this one, you can. All right, thank you, sir.
Supervisor Canepa.
I just want Supervisor, I'm not against this. I just think that we need to have the wherewithal to deal with this. And I mean, that's the most important part. Because if you see that somebody does have a problem, how do we get them the help? And I mean, that's what I've been struggling with. And I'm on the Behavioral Health Board. And I mean, it's just, we keep trying and we keep trying and we keep trying. And I don't think that we're giving the service level that we need to. So I mean, putting another parameter for people to follow, I mean, I'm all for getting people help. I'm all for limiting, whether or not they get the supposed handouts or the hand up. And I mean, I hope that we can provide a hand up instead of the handout, which I always complain about. And I think it's important not only, to not live off emotion, because I know everyone's mad as hell and we can't deal with it anymore, but how as a county are we addressing it internally is what I worry about. And I mean, that's why I brought them up here. Thank you for your comments, because it's great to mandate things and have things, on the books, but I mean, how do we deal with it? And I think that's the bigger problem that I'm having with this systematically. I don't think we're dealing with it as an organization. So I mean, I'm all for this, but I mean, we've got to get better at providing those services and providing them. And I mean, when I looked on it, I said, how many beds do we have in the county? It was 16 beds for drug and alcohol treatment. I mean, that's deplorable. So that's my concern, is not doing something half-baked. You know what I mean? And so I get this, and we get it today. You guys have done research. This is my time to do my research with the staff that we have. So I appreciate your guys going out and finding out what you found out. But I mean, it's not the people on the outside that are running this organization. It's the people up here that are running the organization to give the services to the taxpayers that we represent. So, I mean, I appreciate what you're doing. I'm just trying to save the money, because this range is between $300,000 and $700,000 to get it on the ballot. And I'm just wondering out loud if that money would be better spent providing services and just do a mandate amongst ourselves and see if it works, instead of possibly putting it out to the voters and then it fails, and then we wasted time and energy and taxpayer money and are in the same predicament we're in right now. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Supervisor Ding.
Okay, one more time and I'll shut up. We've spent $130 to $160 million to try to fix a problem, and the problem has gotten worse. This is gonna cost, whatever you said, $300,000, $700,000 to put it on the ballot. Chris Wood said that it would, right now we're looking at 5 to 10 people a month. If we can't fix it internally for $160 million, I mean, this should be the priority. That's number one. If you want to put a price tag on that druggie that you're giving money to and keeping him in this county when he walks into a schoolyard and kills somebody, I can't believe we're even having this conversation. This should be the mission of the board. Public safety is the #1 priority of the board, said Supervisor Rickman over and over and over again. And that's what this is. Okay, let's stick to the mission. Get them off the street, give our first responders the tools they need, quit giving them money in any amounts. And as far as Supervisor Rickman, can they unwind this? I'll wait for him to quit kissing Tom in the ear there. It's called Proposition 13. Do you think that brain trust and idiots in Sacramento wouldn't have unwound this a long time ago if they could have? Once you've codified it in law by the voters, it makes it, and I would challenge the council to find one example of a proposition that has been unwound by an elected or by referendum. It doesn't happen. So let's put our money, all $160 million of it, where our mouth is, and actually deliver the resources we need.
Yes, sir. Supervisor Rickman.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to get clarification here, because our counselor, on what you were talking about, this isn't, what do you call it, from a voter initiative versus the board putting it on there. So I just think there's some misunderstanding. So if we put it on the ballot like we're talking about today, right, that is different than from a voter initiated. There's certain things that the board can't do. There's legalese that prevents, either side. But if we put this on the board as it is stated right now without being voter initiated, can a future board change what the voters voted on based on what we're here today through just a majority of a different board?
The answer is yes. I understand Supervisor Ding's perspective that a board isn't going to do that. I'm just telling you what they have the legal ability to do. I'm not talking about the politics. Maybe a board would be hesitant to do it because the voters voted for it, but I'm just saying from a legal perspective, according to the case law, they could do that. There is a special provision in Elections Code, I think it's 9125, I can double check that, which precludes a board from being able to amend an ordinance that's been put in place pursuant to a petition, a voter petition. This is distinct from that. This is not under that code section. In the absence of that special language, which is found, as I said, I think it's a 9125, I can double check it. In the absence of that language, which precludes this board from being able to amend a voter initiative, a petition which puts something on the ballot, the case law says that you have the ability to amend it. So that is the distinction. And I know Supervisor Ding made reference to Proposition 13 and other things. I don't know for a fact, but I believe most of those propositions were put on the ballot pursuant to a petition. Now, you may very well be correct that boards are reluctant to change things if voters put it on the ballot because that's bad politics. But from a legal standpoint, according to the case law, it could be amended by a future board, or for that matter, this board, if the board changes its mind, for instance.
Right. So I just want to clarify that. So that is why I mentioned, the 4/5 and have a severability clause in there that, if this is deemed, not legal, then it just cuts out that portion and leaves the rest of it intact.
So if you wanted to make a motion to that effect, and if the board were to support it, I would ask for maybe a 10-minute recess, and I could put language together that would insert that in the ordinance.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Supervisor Ding. You're good? Okay, at this time, we'll open public comment. Anyone would like to speak on this matter, please come forward. Oh, Jimmy, do you want to speak? Go ahead.
I just want, so through the chair.
Yes.
Back to Supervisor Canepa, I just want to make a clarifying statement. So this board has invested a great deal of money and time in behavioral health and substance abuse continuum for beds. So we do have more than 16 beds in the county for substance abuse treatment. So I just want to make sure I clarify that. The 16 beds is a co-occurring substance abuse program that we have. We have a licensed 47-bed recovery house, which is a county-run program, a 27-bed perinatal female-only program that is county-ran. We have 5 recovery residents, contracted programming with various beds and homes throughout the county. We have 2 additional residential inpatient substance abuse programs ran by contractors, 3 residential out-of-county with programs that we contract with that also has a variety of other residential programs that are stepped down. So this board has been incredibly supportive of behavioral health for a continuum of services. So I just want to make sure the 16-bed is not on record. We have a full continuum of supports. It's just we don't have enough for the need. So if you build it, they will come. In May, behavioral health launched its very first walk-in co-occurring access point of entry program where we can at any point assess for substance abuse, mental health, or co-occurring. And as you know, within our board, for Behavioral Health Advisory Board, we have so many individuals walking in seeking treatment. We don't have enough staff now to actually meet the needs of those walking in for care. So I just want to clarify.
Oh,
that
perfect.
we have
Through the
far
chair.
more
Oh,
than
sorry, because it
16
came in
beds.
an email from there. So,
Yes.
I mean, but it's still alarming. We're at 100 for a county of 780,000 people. So that's definitely
Yes.
underserved. So
Yes.
that was just the point. So I apologize because it did come in, contact with you, with your guys' office.
You're welcome.
Thanks for
Anyone
clarifying.
else? Supervisor Rickman.
And just on that point, if you look in the last, I've been on the board now almost 4 years now, and if you look at what we've done in the last 4, substance abuse and mental health treatment has been a priority. And if you look at the state and where the state has stood on mental health or substance abuse, you haven't heard anything from them, except for the last, year or 2 when it's politically convenient for the state and the governor should change their attitude. Now you're seeing it. So I just want people to know that this board, for the last 4 years, has made mental health and substance abuse a priority. I see Mr. Diedrich back there. Don't worry, I'm not calling you up here. But, the prime example, we allocated 58 million for the Be Well campus, right? So that would have, San Joaquin, up higher than that. So it's higher, 50+ million. So that just shows our dedication to mental health treatment and substance abuse. So now if the state would like to put their money where their mouth is, by all means, give the counties more money so we can help our residents. Each county can help our residents. Again, we talked about, local control. And, so if the state's watching this, if they're not too mad for me calling them out, give us more money. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comment. Anyone like to speak on this matter? Please come forward. I see no one. I'll close public comment. Supervisor Patty.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to review here, I like Supervisor Rickman's proposed amendments, and if we want to take a recess or perhaps come back after closed session would suffice, if that works or not, before we take any action on this, whatever you guys might recommend. But I do believe, and I support Supervisor Ding in what we, I think, are looking to achieve is we're looking to codify something. We're looking to make a statement. We're looking to show that we are resolute and we are determined. And we know that under Director Woods and we know with Director Valentine, we know that we're highly engaged. Just if we can save a life or 2 or 5 or 10 or 100 over the next several months and years as it goes, this is a measurable difference in people's lives, their families, getting people out of this vicious, terrible drug addiction cycle. It's worth doing. If it doesn't pass on the ballot measure, it can come back to the board and we can talk about it, and we do have that authority, but I thought it was great to bring this forward, and I agree with Supervisor Ding. Let's bring this forward. This isn't an argument. We do have funds, and for everybody's life, there is resources, there is anything we can do to prompt them to get to sobriety and have a better life. I'm in full support of, because the drugs are highly addictive. probably every single encampment area you go to, there are hypodermic needles, there are drug deliveries, there are drug dealers and users throughout this county. So if by chance, in any way, somebody's even in housing or unhoused, and I can share, I passed it out to everybody here on the dais, but we put out a question yesterday. We had over 1,000, almost 1,500 respondents, and this is just a general question. Do you believe that drug testing and treatment should be required for shelter or unsheltered individuals that receive government assistance? That was kind of a just broad-based, general question put out there. We got 75 people strongly agree or agree. So that's resolute. That shows that this county, the citizens are saying, yes, we agree with this. So we need to take measures. We need to set a course of action. And this is just the beginning of what we can do as we look to expand, as we have more beds of engagement, as we look, as Director Dietrich has dutifully brought forward the Be Well campus. That's going to have a profound impact when fully built out. This is a step and stage in that direction. Really shouldn't be a heavy discussion. This should be something we take a victory lap on, but I'm glad that we dot I's, cross T's, review it, and try to satisfy questions and concerns. So that said, I know Supervisor Rickman, barring any other discussion, I'm not trying to close it, but Supervisor Rickman may want to make a motion. Thank you, Chairman.
And Chairman,
Yes.
can I have the floor real quick? And just to correct you real quick, Supervisor Petty, I know you said 75 people. That was 75%.
75%.
Yeah, so over 1,000 people out of 1,400 people, pretty much. So just to clarify that. And I'll make a motion to approve with the additional amendment of 4/5 majority.
And if I could make another suggested amendment, and that is that the effective date should be January 2nd. It has to do with the timing of the elections code. So instead of going into effect January 1st, the amendment would be that it go into effect January 2nd. I would make that request.
And with that request, in there also for January 2nd for effective date.
Second.
We have a first and a second. We have a vote, please. And the motion passes 5-0. Thank you very
Counselor,
much.
you're gonna bring that back?
We are gonna bring that back. I'm gonna have the exact language in the ordinance. And so what I interpret what just happened is they approved your motion to amend it, and I'm gonna make the amendment, get the specific language in the ordinance, because it's an ordinance, so we have to be but everything has to be exact, and we'll bring it back.
Thank you, sir.
And we still make the deadline for the ballot, correct?
We're gonna bring it back today.
Awesome.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to item number 2, District 3, approve the use of $10,000 from Supervisor District to conduct town hall meetings in San Joaquin County. Supervisor Patty.
Thank you again, Chairman. And this is something working with the clerk of the board and my office and multiple offices. We're looking to, as we see in these discussion items, the homelessness and the issues that go on, it's the number one issue that's the greatest concern throughout our community. So looking to schedule some town halls, and as I've spoken with one office in particular, there's a couple $100 fee here or a couple $100 fee there for getting facilities for us to go forward and include probation, include behavior health, includes conversation in the community on public safety and homelessness. So this was just bringing it forward. This was a suggestion from clerk of the board. Sorry, I'll put you on the spot here, Madam Clerk. But this was a suggestion that we have as just a little bit of money that any supervisor can use throughout the year, and if it needs to be replenished, and if there's any expenses for some of your community meetings, this would satisfy it. So Chairman, that's all. It's kind of a quick addition to this agenda.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Canepa.
So I just attended an event over the weekend, and
We all read about it.
and so there's a fine line over whether it's seen as political or not. I went to the same event last year and went up and spoke on stage. So then this year, it's a bigger deal because it's election year. So how do we make sure that it's not seen as money used for getting somebody possibly in front of folks for an election year or whatever? I mean, that's my only concern with this. And I mean, people can question or whatever, but I mean, it got pretty serious where you know what I mean? So what people's perception is whether it's for public good or for an elected, getting preference. So can you kind of explain towards how there would be safeguards for that?
I agree. And that's the concern always whenever public, especially when public funds start to be used for these town halls, is that the board should probably pursue guidelines for the use of that money that do set those parameters. We can work with county council to develop something like that and bring it back to the board. I think the immediate need right now is that Supervisor Patty has a very small amount that he would like to use for town halls that are coming up shortly. So my recommendation was to bring it to the board because the board doesn't currently fund for its use individual board members to use the board's money. And so I do need direction from the board to use that money for an individual office to have a town hall. And then my suggestion was also to direct staff to develop guidelines that would make sure that there's two ways to do it. Number one, you could develop the guidelines and have staff implement those guidelines, or you could have the requirement that when a board member wants to use the money for a town hall, maybe they need to bring it back to the board to support it, so that way there's some transparency. The board is responsible for, holding itself accountable and can do that, or you can delegate that to staff to do that for you. But I would want really, very clear guidelines on when I can release money for a town hall.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Supervisor Rickman.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, my question, I think what you just mentioned, Rochelle, was how the money would be used. If it's just for facilities, at least that's what it looks like in here, just for facilities, right? So if it's limited to just facilities, then I think that's
Yeah, this is
haircut.
just when the facility that's being requested has a rental fee.
Right.
Usually there isn't a rental fee, and I know that staff has been working to try to negotiate so that there aren't fees involved, but there are some occasions where there's a fee, and it's usually pretty small.
Right, okay, I just wanted to make sure that there, like you talked about guidelines, it says here in the agendized item here, for facilities, and when community centers, or such as county community centers are not available, so first choice would always be county property. If county facilities or property is not available, then we would use these funds for facilities and facility rentals only, correct? All right, I just wanted to make sure that's on the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Ding.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the biggest problems we have as constituents, we spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on programs, but the residents, there's a communication gap and they don't know about it. And so anything we can do to reach out into a community, it just some for information purposes, because especially under the direction of Nicole Gehring, we do this every month. We do over 100 of these town hall meetings in my district every single month. In Lockford, Clements, Woodbridge, Campo, Linden, Murata, et cetera. And we've never spent any money. We use fire departments, police departments, and community halls, which I'm discovering we have a lot more county property in Lodi than I thought we did. And we're looking in the future to actually expanding county services into satellite offices in the north as we speak. So I think with the proper guidelines, yeah, it's what we should be doing. It's reaching out into the community. As long as there's, we're not paying for, oh, I better be careful. Food, I was going to specify food or, what have you that, and obviously, let me, address the big elephant in the room. That $10,000 is kind of an identical amount to, kind of what's been in the papers the last few days with what the city of Stockton did and a city councilwoman that just went a little sideways on taking the responsibility. But no, I think you're on par here.
At this time, we're going to open public comment. Anyone would like to come forward and address the board? Okay, I see no one. I'll close public comment. Supervisor Patty?
Thank you, Chair, and great points by all. And Supervisor Cannon, I appreciate that you were present. You saw how one event turned into a rally because there were people up. There's video posted, who to vote for this person. It became a voter rally. Very different and a very distinct difference between what we're doing here, which is informative. You will not see poster signs up, who to vote for, who to support, or anything. It is all about what the county is doing. You guys will be getting the results on the survey that myself and Supervisor Canepa put out. But I can tell you, looking at a snapshot this morning of the 1,400 people, the vast majority had little idea about San Joaquin Cares, which we should be proud of accomplishing and putting that in motion, and what probation's currently doing. So there's little knowledge about what we're doing, very little knowledge. Also, the majority felt that obviously what we're doing is not enough. They were not aware of the vast amount of efforts that have taken place. And I believe in my twilight of days and weeks and a few months that I'll be county supervisor, I'm very proud of the record of working with the multitude of departments and efforts that this county has stepped up, risen to the occasion, and addressed these issues in so many manners that we should be promoting. And it's going to be up to you guys after myself and Supervisor Villapudua are gone. It'll be up to you to carry that on, because we do so much great work. We have so many fantastic department heads and staff, and there's a commitment to this county that I feel absolutely is important to share with the public and engage with them, because everywhere I go, without exception, and I don't think I'm exaggerating if I say every single day somebody talks to me about homelessness, without exception. And that's been going on for several years now. So this is an opportunity. For the couple $100 fee is not an exorbitant anything. It's just getting out in the public, getting a small rent. Some of you, it's going to be in your district, you could be present. This is for nothing other than engagement with the public and sharing what we've accomplished and what we're doing, but we have to be careful that what's going forward, so that there's no Brown Act violations. I'm cognizant of that as well. So that's it, Chairman. With that, I would make a motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Through the chair, if I may ask that the motion be clarified. I mean, if we're just approving the money, the $10,000, to Supervisor Canepa's point, if there could be a discussion or, direction on when we do use that money. And I agree, Supervisor Patty, his request right now is for a town hall meeting that is not political, it's informative. But in the future, board members, new board members, we may run into that problem where somebody starts to appear to be holding campaign meetings. Not this one, not this recommendation, but I would suggest that if approving this money, the $10,000, that board members, and also approve Supervisor Patty's use for his immediate town halls, that the board makes its own determinations if it should be approved for that purpose. So a future request, a board member wants to have a town hall in their district, we have the funds for it through the action today, that the board may be required that come to the board for approval. The board can then evaluate the request and make its own determination if it's county related or campaign related, so that way it's not on staff to have to make that call with the board members.
So, Madam Clerk, with that in mind, since I made the motion, I'm in favor of utilization of the money, providing it fits within the parameters of non-campaign related public meetings and what would you call them? Public events? No. What are we calling these for utilization of town halls? I'm sorry, town halls. So conducting, community outreach and town halls fits within guidelines. There's not a campaign-related event. No campaigning will take place at them of use of the funds.
And we all agree with that. I'm just saying, I don't want to be the one that has to tell a board member, this appears to be a campaign function, and then there's that back and forth with the board member saying, no, it's not a campaign. Who makes that final call? And I think it should be the board.
Well, if somebody's crossed the line, like we saw, and there's a public outcry about what we saw with the city, then that can come back to,
Sure.
A issue of discussion and maybe reimbursement. So perhaps County Council through the chair, do you think we need to establish guidelines that you want to come forward, maybe create some just basic based on this conversation?
Well, what I'm hearing the clerk suggest is that there be put in place something similar to how discretionary funds are spent. The board, as you well know, approved setting aside money for each of the districts, and then the individual proposals come back to the board. So I hear the clerk suggesting that course of action. An alternative course of action would be direction that county council and the clerk come up with guidelines which are utilized in determining whether or not a town hall meeting meets the criteria. I don't think that doesn't address, I think, the clerk's concern, which is that she doesn't want to be the one making the call, but that is another course of action.
Okay. Supervisor Rickman, I'll cede my time to Supervisor Rickman.
Okay, Supervisor Ding has a comment first.
I think you guys are making this way too complicated.
Exactly.
It's illegal to use public funds for political purposes. So, and you've got 15,000 agencies set up to make sure that you guys abide by the rules, you know, et cetera. If the clerk has a question, she can send it over to the council and he can check and see what it is. But the rules are already in place. And if that doesn't go far enough, they can throw your butt out of office if you use the funds wrong. But I think we're making this way too
Oh,
difficult.
can I have that authority to throw them out of office? No?
Absolutely. As long as you provide cookies and chocolate.
Okay, County Administrator Regato.
Sorry, through the chair, and I'm good with whatever the board decides, but during the discussion, what I heard that the funds would be used for facilities, for rental of facilities. So that might be what we might want to amend, at least in the recommendation, for the use up to 10,000 by individuals for the purpose of rental facilities to conduct town halls in San Joaquin County.
Okay, Supervisor Rickman.
Yeah, just real quick, Supervisor Dean beat me to it, but, I mean, I think it's in our ordinances, county ordinances and FPPC that you can't use for campaign purposes. And the only problem is, you know, coming back to the board for approval for a town hall or something like that is, what if there's an emergency? And you need to go out there and have a town hall for an emergency, be it flood or fire, you know, and now you're kind of stuck, you know, and in reality, as Supervisor Dean mentioned, I mean, when you do town halls and you need facilities, I've never had a problem. I mean, you have our school district who are always a great partner. You have our fire departments who are always our great partners. We have county facilities. So, and I think this is if, you know, our county facilities aren't available for some reason, then, you know, the very small amount will be used for county or for facility rental, as our CAO mentioned. So, I mean, I agree with Supervisor Dean. I mean, those protections are already in place, and then it would be up to this board to enforce whatever the repercussions of, you know, that individual mistake or whatever it may be. So, that's where I stand.
Okay. Supervisor Petty, would you like to amend your motion?
Chair, well, and I agree with Supervisor Rickman and Supervisor Ding, and this is a big deal out of nothing, a couple $100 here or there. And I would disagree with the clerk because we may have a contentious board that in the future would stop a supervisor from engaging in the public. So these are very small criteria. We're not doing a $10,000 spend for public outreach. If Supervisor Canepa wants to go and participate in events that are rallies with public money, that, as he had unexpectedly, nobody expected that to happen, and you have eyes that it's revealed, great. This is not that. So I mean, I don't know how sideways we want to go, off track, go down this a rabbit hole with it. So I'm make a motion to recommend that you use up to $10,000 by individual supervisors for the purpose of conducting town halls in San Joaquin County. So it's for each of us and all of us to use, and if that's it.
Yeah. Is there a second on this motion?
Through the chair?
Yes.
Just quick point of clarification. I read this as allocating $10,000 total, not $10,000 per district. Is
Correct.
that-
First total, yes.
Okay,
That's
just
correct.
what?
And I believe Supervisor Canepa did already second this motion, is that correct?
He did?
You
Okay.
removed, okay.
Is there a second?
And just to clarify, Supervisor Patty, this is for facilities only, right, rental?
Correct.
So, for facilities only. Then if that's the case, then yeah, I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. We have a vote, please. And the motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Moving on to closed session. County Councilors, anything to report as we recess to closed session?
I'm not anticipating having to report anything out. If the chair would like, I've made the necessary amendments to the ordinance, and we could address that now if you wish.
Yes, let's do it.
Just for the record, of course, what the board is considering today is a resolution putting an ordinance on the ballot. And the ordinance itself is attached as Exhibit A to the resolution. And the amendments to that ordinance that would be put before the voters for their consideration would be a new section 5-1204, which would read, "This chapter may not be amended or repealed except by the voters or by a 4/5 vote or greater of the Board of Supervisors." And then the second amendment is in Section 5 of the ordinance, which is uncodified. That portion of the ordinance is uncodified. Section 4B shall read, "This ordinance shall become effective," I'm sorry, let me start over. It shall read, "This ordinance shall become operative on January 2nd, 2025. And those are the amendments that the board approved through the motion. So now pending before you is approval of the resolution.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to approve as suggested and recommended.
I'll second it, but I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
I forgot to mention it, and I don't know if we have to open it back up or not, but this is gonna be on the ballot, so in like the voter guide or whatever, and there's some, for a proponents for, are we gonna put something in there?
The resolution indicates that there will be opportunities for proponents and an opportunity for opponents, and also indicates that the board may opine, may be a proponent or opponent, conceivably, I suppose.
But I'm talking about writing something in.
Yes, the resolution contemplates that the board may be submitting something in the voter guide, either for or against this.
And that would be done at a later time?
That would be done at a
Okay,
later time.
that's just my question. So thank you, Chair, for your
Okay,
patience.
so we have a first and a second, and we'll have a vote, please.
Okay, I apologize. Can you please repeat the first and the second?
I believe it was Supervisor Patty was the first.
I second.
And Rickman was.
I second.
Was it Rickman or?
I don't care. Somebody second.
Supervisor Ding. Yeah, Supervisor Ding. And the motion passes 5-0.
All right.
So going into closed session, do we have any comments from County Council?
I'm not anticipating anything to report out.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for showing up today. Have a wonderful day, rest of the week.